He told me to pack my things and leave. Right there, in front of everyone. 1 month later, he was sitting across from me, asking if I had any openings. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where this all started. My name's David, and 3 years ago, I was working at a tech startup called Nextline Solutions. Nothing fancy. We made inventory management software for small businesses. I was a senior developer there, and honestly, I loved my job. I'd wake up excited to code. I'd stay late because I wanted to, not because I had to. The team was small, maybe 15 people total, and I thought we were all working towards something bigger. My boss was a guy named Richard Palmer. Mid-40s, always wore these expensive suits that looked like a size too small, and had this way of talking where everything sounded like a threat wrapped in a compliment. You know the type. He'd say things like, "Great work on that feature, David. I knew you could do it if you really pushed yourself." As if I wasn't already giving everything I had. For about 8 months, I'd been working on this massive project. It was a complete overhaul of our core system. We called it Project Atlas because it was basically holding up the entire future of the company. The old system was breaking down constantly. Clients were complaining. We were losing contracts. This new system was supposed to fix everything. Better speed, better interface, better security, everything. I poured my soul into Atlas. Nights, weekends, didn't matter. My girlfriend at the time actually broke up with me because I was so consumed by this project. She said I cared more about lines of code than I did about our relationship. Maybe she was right. I don't know, but I believed in what I was building. The thing about Atlas was that it wasn't just technical work. I'd done all the client research myself. I'd interviewed dozens of our users, figured out exactly what they needed, what frustrated them, what would make their lives easier. I designed the architecture, wrote most of the code, and coordinated with our small team to implement it. Richard barely understood what I was doing. He'd pop into meetings, nod along, and say things like, "Make sure it's user-friendly," before disappearing again.
Then came the big client meeting. We had this potential contract with a retail chain called Bergman's. They had about 200 stores across the country, and they were looking for a new inventory system. This contract was worth more than everything else we'd done combined. We're talking about a deal that could triple our company's revenue overnight. Richard scheduled the presentation for a Tuesday morning. I spent the entire weekend preparing. I had slides, demos, backup demos in case something crashed, the whole thing. Monday night, I was at the office until 2 in the morning, making sure everything was perfect. Tuesday morning, I got to the office at 7. The meeting was at 10. I set everything up in our conference room, tested all the equipment twice, had my notes ready. At 9:30, Richard called me into his office. He was sitting behind his desk with this weird expression on his face. Not angry, exactly, more like satisfied, like a cat that just caught a mouse. "David," he said, "thanks for all your hard work on Atlas." I should have known right then. Something in his tone was off. "We're going to make a few changes to today's presentation. I'm going to be leading it. You'll be there for technical questions if needed, but I think it's important that the client sees strong leadership from the top." I didn't love it, but okay. He was the boss. I figured he'd do the intro stuff and I'd handle the actual demonstration. The Bergman's team showed up right at 10. 4 people. The CEO, the operations director, and 2 others whose titles I didn't catch. Richard did the introductions, and we all sat down. Then Richard started presenting. And I mean really presenting. He pulled up my slides and started walking through them like he'd created them himself. He talked about the user research I'd done as if he'd done it. He explained the architecture I'd designed as if he'd designed it. He even told this story about interviewing a shop owner in Detroit, which was something I had done, not him. I just sat there, frozen. I didn't know what to do. Interrupt him? Call him out in front of the clients? That seemed insane. So I waited, thinking he'd hand it over to me for the technical demo. He didn't. He did the entire presentation himself. And honestly, he messed up half the technical details. He couldn't answer their deeper questions. At one point, the operations director asked about our data encryption protocols, and Richard just said, "We use military-grade encryption," which doesn't actually mean anything specific. I wanted to jump in, but every time I opened my mouth, Richard would cut me off with, "I'll handle this, David." The meeting ended after about 90 minutes. The Bergmans team thanked us and said they'd be in touch. They seemed interested but not blown away. I knew I could have done better if I'd been allowed to actually present.
After they left, I went straight to Richard's office. "What was that?" I asked. "You told me I'd be presenting." He leaned back in his chair and smiled. "I changed my mind. Leadership needs to be visible in these situations." "You got half the technical details wrong," I said. "You told them we have features that don't even exist yet." His smile disappeared. "Careful, David. I don't appreciate being questioned like this." "I'm not questioning you," I said. "I'm just saying that was my project, and I should have been the one explaining it." "Your project." He stood up. "Nothing here is your project. You work for me. Everything you build belongs to this company. To me. Don't forget that." I should have let it go. I really should have. But I was tired and frustrated, and 8 months of work had just been stolen from me in front of my eyes. "I built Atlas," I said. "Everyone here knows it. You barely understand how it works." His face went red. "Get out of my office." I left. I thought that was the end of it. Maybe I'd get a formal warning or something. I went back to my desk and tried to focus on work. 2 hours later, Richard called an all-hands meeting. Everyone gathered in the main area, the whole company, all 15 of us. Richard stood at the front and cleared his throat. "I have an announcement," he said. "Effective immediately, we're making some organizational changes. We need to streamline our operations and reduce costs." My stomach dropped. "David," he said, looking right at me, "we're going to have to let you go. This is your last day. Please pack your things." The room went completely silent. Everyone was staring at me. Some people looked shocked. Others looked down at their feet. Nobody said anything. "You're firing me?" I said. "Right now? In front of everyone?" "This isn't personal," Richard said. "It's business. We need to move in a different direction." "This is because I called you out about the presentation," I said. "This is because we can't afford to keep people who don't understand their place in the organization," he said. "Now please, pack your things. Security will escort you out." Security? We didn't even have security. He meant Jake from IT, who looked absolutely miserable as he stood there waiting. I packed my desk in silence. 3 years of work, and it all fit into one cardboard box. My plant, some books, a coffee mug my ex-girlfriend had given me, a few personal items. That was it. As I walked out, Richard stopped me at the door. "Atlas launches in 3 weeks, he said quietly, so only I could hear. "And when it does, When Bergman signs on, I'll be the one taking credit, not you. People will remember my name, not yours." I looked at him for a long moment. Then I said, "We'll see." And I left. The next few days were rough. I'm not going to lie. I felt humiliated, angry, betrayed. I'd given that company everything, and this was how it ended. My parents kept calling, asking if I was okay. My friends told me I should sue for wrongful termination. Maybe I should have, but I was too focused on something else. Revenge? No, that sounds too dramatic. Justice. That's more accurate. I wanted justice. I started looking for jobs immediately. I had good experience, a solid portfolio, and despite everything, I was a good developer. Within a week, I had 3 interviews lined up. One of them was with a company called Inventec. They were Nextline's biggest competitor. Bigger team, bigger budget, better reputation. They'd been trying to break into the small business inventory market for years, but Nextline had always been a step ahead. Barely, but ahead. My interview was with their CTO, a woman named Sarah Chen. She was maybe 10 years older than me, and she had this intense energy, like she could see right through whatever you were saying to what you actually meant. We talked for 2 hours. I showed her my portfolio, explained my approach to development, walked her through some of my past projects. Then she asked the question I'd been waiting for. "So why did you leave Nextline?" I could have lied, made up something about wanting new challenges or whatever, but something about Sarah made me want to tell the truth. I told her everything. The 8 months on Atlas, the stolen presentation, the public firing, all of it. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "That's a terrible way to treat someone. I'm sorry that happened to you." "Thanks," I said. "So, this Atlas project, how close is it to launch?" 3 weeks, maybe less. "And you know it inside and out?" I saw where this was going. Every line of code. She smiled. "We've been working on something similar. We call it Titan. But we're about 6 months behind. We keep running into problems with the architecture." "I might be able to help with that," I said. "I'm sure you could," she said. "But I need to be very clear about something. I'm not hiring you to steal trade secrets. I'm not asking you to bring us Nextline's code or anything like that. That's illegal, and it's wrong. What I am asking is whether you can help us build something better using your expertise and experience." "I wouldn't give you their code even if you asked," I said. "But I can absolutely help you build something better, because I know exactly what Atlas does wrong. I know its limitations. I know what clients actually need that it doesn't provide." She extended her hand. "When can you start?" "Tomorrow." And I did. I started at Inventec the next day. The team was great. 20 developers, all smart, all motivated. Sarah gave me a lot of freedom. She wanted Titan to be the best inventory management system on the market, and she was willing to invest whatever it took. I threw myself into the work, not out of anger this time, but out of excitement, because I finally had the resources and the support to build what I'd always envisioned. Atlas had been held back by budget constraints, by Richard's interference, by compromises I'd had to make. With Titan, I didn't have those limitations. We worked fast. I brought in ideas from my Atlas experience, but improved them. Better algorithms, cleaner code, more intuitive interface. The team was incredible. They trusted me, and I trusted them. Sarah checked in regularly, but never micromanaged. It was everything my experience at Nextline should have been. 3 weeks after I started, Atlas launched at Nextline. I heard about it through a former colleague who texted me. Atlas just went live, already having problems. Clients are complaining about bugs. I wasn't surprised. Richard had probably rushed it out the door to try to impress Bergmans, and without me there to fix issues, the whole thing was probably falling apart. A week later, I heard that Bergmans had passed on the contract. They'd cited concerns about stability and support. 2 weeks after that, Sarah called me into her office. Bergmans reached out to us, she said. They want to see a demo of Titan. My heart jumped. When? Next week. And David, they specifically asked if you'd be the one presenting. Apparently, word had gotten around about what happened at Nextline. The Bergmans operations director had done some research, found out I'd joined Inventitech, and wanted to see what I'd been working on.
The presentation was scheduled for 2 p.m. on a Thursday. I prepared like my life depended on it. But this time, I wasn't nervous. I was ready. The Bergmans team showed up, same 4 people. They recognized me immediately. "David," the CEO said, shaking my hand. "Good to see you again. We were disappointed things didn't work out with Nextline." "Me too," I said. "But I think you're going to like what we've built here." I presented Titan, and this time I got to tell the real story. The user research, the design philosophy, the technical innovations. I demonstrated features that Atlas couldn't touch. I answered every question they had with confidence because I actually knew what I was talking about. The demo ran for almost 3 hours. When it was over, the CEO looked at his team, then back at me. "This is exactly what we need," he said. "Let's talk contract details." They signed 2 weeks later. It was the biggest deal Inventec had ever closed. Sarah gave me a promotion, senior lead developer. Nice pay bump, too. But more than that, she made sure everyone knew I was the driving force behind Titan. My name was on the press release. I did interviews with trade publications. For the first time in my career, I got the recognition I deserved. Over the next few months, Titan took off. We signed 6 more major clients. Word spread in the industry. We started winning awards. Meanwhile, I kept hearing through the grapevine that Nextline was struggling. Atlas had been a disaster. Clients were leaving. They'd lost 3 developers. Then, exactly 5 months after Richard fired me, I got an email. The subject line was, "Coffee?" It was from Richard. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. Part of me wanted to delete it immediately, but curiosity won. The email was short. "David, I hope this message finds you well. I've been following your success at Inventec. Impressive work. I'd love to grab coffee sometime and catch up. Let me know if you're available."
I showed it to Sarah. She laughed. "He's going to ask you for a job." "No way," I said. "He's too proud for that. Wanna bet?" I didn't respond to the email for 3 days. Then I sent back a one-liner. "Sure. How's next Tuesday?" We met at a coffee shop downtown. Neutral territory. Richard showed up wearing jeans and a casual shirt. I'd never seen him in anything but a suit. He looked tired. Older. We made small talk for a few minutes. How have you been? Nice weather. All that meaningless stuff. Then he got to the point. "I'll be honest with you," he said. "Things at Nextline are tough right now. Atlas didn't perform the way we hoped. We've had to make some cuts." "Sorry to hear that," I said, even though I wasn't. "The thing is," he continued, "I realize now that I made a mistake. Letting you go was the wrong call." I didn't say anything. I just waited. "You're clearly talented," he said. What you've done at Inventec proves that, and I think we could have avoided a lot of problems if you'd still been with us." "Probably," I agreed. He shifted in his seat. "I know this is awkward, but I wanted to ask if you'd consider coming back. We could really use someone with your expertise." "You want me to come back to Nextline?" I said. "I know it's a lot to ask after how things ended, but I'm prepared to offer you a senior position, better title, better pay than you had before." I took a sip of my coffee. "That's an interesting offer." He looked hopeful. "So you'll think about it?" "No, I'm not coming back to Nextline." His face fell. "David, I know I handle things poorly, but we all make mistakes. I'm trying to make it right." "You humiliated me," I said calmly. "You stole credit for my work, then fired me in front of everyone to protect your ego." "I know," he said quietly. "I'm sorry." It was the first time I'd ever heard him apologize for anything. "I appreciate that," I said, "but I'm happy at Inventec. Sarah treats me with respect. My team values my contributions. I'm building great things. Why would I give that up?" He nodded slowly. "I understand. I just thought I'd ask." We sat in silence for a moment. Then he said something I didn't expect. "Are you hiring?" I looked at him. "What?" "At Inventec. Are you hiring? Because honestly, I'm probably going to need a job soon. Nextline isn't going to last much longer." This was it. The moment Sarah had predicted. Richard Palmer, the man who'd fired me in shame, was asking me for work. I should have felt triumphant, vindicated. But mostly, I just felt tired. "We are hiring," I said slowly. "Junior developers mostly. Some mid-level positions." "I could do mid-level," he said quickly. "I've been getting back into the technical side lately. I still remember how to code." "You'd be reporting to me," I said. "I'm the senior lead developer. You'd be on my team." He swallowed hard. "I could do that." I thought about it for a long moment. Part of me wanted to say no, wanted to make him feel what I felt that day in the office. But another part of me, the part that Sarah had helped me develop, knew that wasn't who I wanted to be. "Send me your resume," I said. "I'll pass it along to HR." His face lit up. "Really?" "Really. But Richard, I need you to understand something. If you join Inventec, you're not the boss anymore. You're a team member. You take direction. You collaborate. You respect other people's work. If you can't do that, then don't bother applying." "I can do that. I will. I promise." "Okay then, send me your resume." He did. That afternoon, I forwarded it to HR with a note explaining the situation. Sarah reviewed it personally. "You sure about this?" she asked me. "No," I admitted, "but I think people deserve second chances. He was terrible to me, but maybe he's learned something." "Your call," she said. "If you think he can contribute to the team without causing problems, then I trust your judgment." We interviewed him. He was nervous, which was weird to see. He answered questions carefully, almost humbly. The technical assessment showed he was rusty, but not incompetent. We could work with that. I made the final decision. We hired him as a mid-level developer on my team. His first day was 3 weeks later. I met him in the lobby and showed him around. Introduced him to the team. Got him set up at his desk. "Thank you for this opportunity," he said quietly. "Don't thank me," I said. "Just do good work." And you know what? He did. He was quiet, kept his head down, asked questions when he didn't understand something. He was actually a decent developer when he wasn't too busy trying to manage everyone. The team was skeptical of him at first, but he won them over gradually by being reliable and respectful. A few months in, we were working late on a critical bug fix, just the two of us in the office. He was stuck on something, and I helped him work through it. After we solved it, he said, "I was a terrible boss." I looked over at him. "Yeah, you were. I don't know why I acted like that. Insecurity, I guess. Feeling like I had to prove I was in charge, but I hurt a lot of people, especially you." "You did," I agreed. "I'm trying to be different now," he said. "Better." "I can see that." He nodded. "For what it's worth, watching you lead this team has taught me more about actual leadership than I learned in 10 years of being a manager. You don't demand respect. You earn it." "Thanks," I said. "That means something." We went back to work, and I realized something. The revenge I'd imagined, the triumph I'd wanted, none of that felt as good as this moment. Seeing someone acknowledge their mistakes and genuinely try to change. Knowing that I'd chosen compassion over cruelty, and it had worked out. Richard still works at Inventec. He's a solid team member now. Not my friend, exactly, but someone I can work with. Someone I can respect. Nextline shut down 6 months after Richard left. Atlas was discontinued. The clients moved to other platforms, mostly to Titan. As for me, I'm still at Inventec. Sarah just promoted me to Director of Engineering. I'm building things I'm proud of with people I respect, and I'm doing it without stepping on anyone to get there. Looking back on everything that happened, here's what I learned. When someone mistreats you, especially someone with power over you, it's easy to fantasize about revenge, about making them suffer the way you made them suffer. And sometimes life does circle back around. Sometimes the person who wronged you does end up needing you. When that happens, you have a choice. You can make them hurt. You can reject them the way they rejected you. And honestly, no one would blame you. But you can also choose to be better than they were. You can set boundaries, demand respect, and still give someone a chance to prove they've changed. That doesn't mean you have to forgive and forget. It doesn't mean you pretend nothing happened. It means you acknowledge what happened, you protect yourself, and you stay true to who you want to be. The best revenge isn't hurting the person who hurt you. It's building something so good, so successful, that their opinion of you stops mattering. It's surrounding yourself with people who value you. It's becoming the kind of person who treats others with the respect you wish you'd received. Richard's downfall wasn't because I destroyed him. It was because he destroyed himself. His arrogance, his need to take credit, his inability to value the people who worked for him. Those things caught up with him eventually. They always do. And my success wasn't about proving him wrong. It was about finding a place where I could do my best work, where my contributions mattered, where I was treated like a human being instead of a resource to be used and discarded. So if you're in a situation where someone's mistreating you, where you're not getting the respect you deserve, here's my advice. Don't waste energy on revenge. Invest that energy in yourself. Build your skills. Make connections. Find people who appreciate what you bring to the table. And when the opportunity comes, when you have the power to help or hurt the person who wronged you, choose to be the person you wish they had been. Because at the end of the day, the best way to beat someone who tried to keep you down is to rise so high that they can't even see you anymore. And if they look up and ask for a hand, well, that's when you get to decide what kind of person you really are.
Subscribe if you want more stories like this.